Here is a video to make bolster pillows for miniature displays from fabric, felt, and trimmings, glued together or can be sewn. These tubular or cylinder-shaped pillows vary in size, some measuring 2 inches by 3 1/4 inches in diameter for the 1/12 scale scenes, but they could be modified for larger scales like 1/6 down to 1/48. The lengths can be made to fit a bed, chair, couch, or play area. Various ribbon and lace trimmings to finish the bolster can be used. The round ends can be made by a yo-yo circle pleated pattern or round, flat, and smooth. And the width, thickness, or thinness can be adjusted. A piece of bunca and a zip-like pull can be added to the seam to make it look like a zipper. I have glued the bolster pillows together, but they could be sewn by adding fabric for seams and hem allowance. The bolster pillows could also be made into a mini window and door draft stopper by measuring the frame lengths. I was initially making a miniature dollhouse bed pillow in the bolster shape for decoration. I wanted it to have a zipper look on the back for sleepover travel for kids with an animal design. So I also made another bolster pillow to go behind or prop up the regular sleeping pillow. I made a lion, striped cat, little hedgehog, floppy-eared dog, rabbit, bear, gray wolf, red fox, panda, bee, and lamb. The animal bolsters are more of a pillow than a stuffy toy. I used a 3/4 inch diameter circle for most of the heads with a fabric top, felt behind, and then I added ears about 5/16 inch diameter circles, or I shaped them to triangles or ovals depending on the animal. Legs are about 11/16 of an inch in length or shorter. Tails are yarn or fabric. At the end of the video, I show a diagram for each of the animals. Begin by making a regular bolster. Choose a fabric like cotton, polyester, faux suede, or quartered textures and fabrics. Press the fabric with an iron if needed. For the filler, I use craft felt from a 9 by 11 3/4 inch piece. The rolled felt gives a uniform appearance, but you could use other things like cotton or polyfill. Make sure to measure your sofa, couch, or chairs for the size of the bolster. I'm using it for bedding, and that's a little bit larger. So make a test bolster first. I tried 3 ways to make the bolster ends: a yo-yo, round, and swirl. To make the yo-yo pleated pouch end bolsters, I cut 2 1 1/4 inch diameter circles from fabric. The base of my 2-ounce fluid paint container helped me, or you could use a circle template. With a pencil, I mark trace the circle on the back side of the fabric. With a toothpick, I glue a thin strip around the inside edge to keep the fabric from fraying. The 1 1/4 fabric pieces will become 3/4 inch in diameter once they're finished. When the glue is dry, I cut out the 2 circles. Then I take a small sewing needle and coordinating thread to the fabric. I take 1 strand and I sew a base running stitch around the outside edge of the circle, about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. You could mark 1/8 of an inch around the circle so you would know where your stitch goes. When the thread ends meet, pull the 2 thread strands taut to create a pouch yo-yo shape. Pull the threads gently but firmly. With your fingers, press to flatten the yo-yo into shape. You could also use a blunt tweezers to kind of go inside of the yo-yo to push the edges outward. Once you get it to shape, take the 2 thread strands together and tie them in a knot. Clip the excess threads and then place a glue dot on the knot to secure. With tweezers, you can straighten out and adjust the pleats for a more uniform look. You could also sew around the pleats, and then once you get it all sewed around to secure it, then take the thread and the needle to the back of the fabric and sew a knot right there. Clip the excess thread. Repeat the steps to make your second yo-yo end, and then you're ready to make the bolster. For the bolster filler insides, I am using a basic felt piece from the craft department. It measures 9 by 11 3/4. Choose a color that will not show through your fabric. I cut a 1 3/4 inch wide by 5 1/2 inch long piece from the felt. Then I began at one of the 1 3/4 inch ends to roll the filler firmly to the opposite end. If it isn't tight enough, just start again. You can place a strip of glue to seal the filler felt roll. Hold it gently until it dries. If you use clamps, it'll probably cause bumps or ridges in your bolster. Instead of gluing it closed, you could sew it. The roll ends should measure slightly less than 3/4 inch in diameter. Adjust as necessary. By checking the fabric yo-yo circle ends to see that they cover the bolster ends. Then you may have to make the roll larger or smaller so that it matches the yo-yo shape. Next, cut a fabric piece to cover the filler felt roll. I cut a 2 1/2 by 2 inch piece. Then I glue a 1/8 inch hem on one end, as shown. I did not hem the other sides, but you could just add more fabric for a hem allowance. Then roll the filler felt bolster inside, beginning at the non-hemmed end. Roll it and then glue it closed on the hem edge. This can be a little bit finicky trying to hold the roll and glue it at the same time. Before I glue it, I kind of want to check to make sure that the yo-yo will still fit in there. Just a double, triple check. When you feel comfortable enough to think that the bolster ends are going to fit, then go ahead and glue the edge, the opposite edge of the hem. Place the little filler right there, the filler felt. Press it down and then gently roll it, holding it tight. Once you get to the edge, the hemmed edge, add a little bit of glue. Spread it around and then roll it into itself and then gently press. Next, add glue to the inner fabric edge around the ends, all the way around. Then place the yo-yo circle into the recessed fabric, gently pressing around evenly. Wipe off the extra glue. Repeat for the other side, adding glue to the inner circle of the fabric, placing the yo-yo in and pressing it down. I like to add ribbon or lace to the edges by gluing and beginning at the hemmed edge and then going around with the glue and the ribbon or lace until the edges meet, and then clip or trim. And then repeat for the other side. To make the yo-yo circle and center buttons, punch 2 1/8 inch circles from cardstock. Glue the 2 1/8 inch circles to the back of your fabric. Then, when dry, cut the circles from the fabric. Use tweezers when you get most of the fabric off of it, and that way it's a little bit easier to clip around the edges and get that circle shape. And just take your time. With a stylus and a foam mat, press onto the cardstock side to create a button outward shape as shown. So the fabric should be on the foam side and you're pressing on the cardstock to create little circle shape. Place a dot of glue into the center end and gently press the fabric button onto the glue. Repeat for the other side. To make the round, smooth bolster ends, cut two 1 1/4 inch circles from the fabric, just like for the yo-yo, except no need to glue the edges for fraying. Repeat the steps to roll a filler felt bolster. Then place the bolster in the center of the 1 1/4 inch circle. Mark and trace around it as shown. Then with the scissors, from the edge to that circle that you've just drawn, make about 8 to 10 little cuts to the circle. Place glue around the edge of the end all the way around. Then place that bolster on top of the circle of the fabric, gently pressing it down. Then glue the little clipped edges all the way around. And then you're going to press that onto the side of the bolster. As you're pressing it around the edges, check to make sure that you have a circle shape for the end, and just make little adjustments and press around. Once you're done, repeat by adding glue to the other edges, press into the fabric, and in this one I clip after I've pressed it into the fabric, so you could do it either way. I'm going to have to press that back in the center here. There we go. And glue those clipped edges and press that up and around. Cut a piece of fabric 2 3/4 by 2 1/4, which includes 1/8 inch hems on 3 sides. Add glue to the 3 hems. Then fold inward, finger pressing the hems to the fabric. I glue the long sides first and press it again on the other side. And then when I get to the end, I add more glue to the one side, the short side, and then I will press that hem inward as well. Now you're ready to glue the bolster to the fabric piece. So begin by gluing the non-hem side, placing the bolster filler felt around. Glue the edges on the hems. Spread the glue with a toothpick and then begin to roll it again to make sure you stay even. Then come to the edge, tucking it in, making sure the sides are around. When you get to the edge, just press that into itself. You could add trimmings with lace and ribbon or just leave it as it is. To make the yarn swirl ends, glue a dot in the middle on the filler felt. Then roll around and around from the center until you reach the end edge. Cut and glue. To make the animal creature bolster pillow designs, I begin with a bolster base size of about 3/4 by 1 3/4 inch. I use faux suede, furry texture fabrics with yarn trimmings. I cut faces, tails, and feet from the fabric for the front. Then I glue it to cardstock, cut that out for the middle, and then I glue a piece of felt to the very back and trim it to shape. I add faces with paper punch shapes with 1/8 of an inch circles and hearts for the noses. I use a 1/4 inch 6-petal flower or sunburst for the eyelashes. I cut it in half. Before I cut the eyelashes in half, I first punch a 1/8 inch circle. Then I take the starburst or the flower petal pattern and I line it up so that it's in the middle of the 1/8 inch circle, and then I punch it. Hopefully I get it kind of centered. And then I cut the flower petal or the sunburst with a hole in the center in half to make the sleeping eyelashes. Here are some design diagrams to make animals or creatures. Some of the tails are made from pom-poms, yarn, or little bits of fabric. The lion made is made of 1/4 inch pieces of yarn glued around the head. The bee's legs are from braided yarn pieces. Once I cut them out, then I place them in a sleeping position. I hope you enjoyed this video making miniature bolster pillows, and consider liking and sharing for others to see. Thank you so much for watching.